Welcome to the Legally Speaking podcast. I'm your host, Rob Hanna. I'm pleased to introduce to you our Clio Con 2023 mini clips mini series.
Delighted to be joined by the wonderful Nefra MacDonald, the Senior Manager in Strategic Engagement at Clio. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob. It's so cool to be on your podcast.
Well, the pleasure is all ours. And of course, we're recording live from Nashville, Clio Con, my first
Yeehaw.
time here, and it's been incredible. But before we talk about that, can you just tell us a little bit about you and your journey?
Oh gosh, where do you want to start? I was born on a little island in the Caribbean. I'm just kidding. A former British colony, actually, Trinidad.
Okay.
You know, so
Yeah.
we're not going to talk about colonialism on this podcast. We just touch on it a little. But I started with Clio about 5 years ago as an affinity partnerships manager, and I've got a background in legal. I've been in the legal industry for close to 15, maybe longer, long time. My first job out of college was at a law firm as a file clerk.
Okay.
And that was right after undergrad, and decided I wanted to go back to law school. Started working at a healthcare tech company after law school, then moved into legal tech, and actually interviewed at Clio Con 2018. That was my lightning round of interviews with 8 or 9 execs at the time, and got the job a couple weeks later. So this is now my 6th Clio Cloud conference. That evolution from affinity partnerships manager, which is like a bar association manager of sorts, has led me to doing so many other things. So my background is also in broadcast journalism and political science, and I love public speaking, and that was something that I really started to expand into in my role. So I do a lot of speaking all across North America, including the Clio Con stage. And then I evolved into a team leader. So my portfolio was expanded. I still have the bar partnerships in my portfolio. I've got 2 amazing partnerships managers that I get to coach now. And I've also got our in-person events. So we do over 90 events across North America that we sponsor. My team's responsible for that. We do a lot of webinars for North American customers and prospects, including continuing legal education. So my team's also responsible for that. And of course, this lovely thing that you're at right now, the Clio Cloud Conference, we're responsible for this program as well.
So it's fair to say you're busy, and I think you do a tremendous job.
I mean, I'm just lounging. This is just easy work.
Well, let's dissect a bit of that, because I think you're an amazing speaker, and I think you do a tremendous job of opening up Clio Con and keeping people engaged. Talk people through a little bit about like that role, particularly at Clio Con, and your experience of it.
Yeah, so I think it's tougher when you start at a company and shortly after that you roll into a pandemic.
Yeah.
Right. And my first ClioCon emceeing, I was actually in my home office in Fort Lauderdale, and the production company had a feed from my apartment and the studio that we set up, a COVID-safe studio that we had set up in the Vancouver area, and piping that into a virtual platform. That was my first emceeing experience, was in the middle of COVID. The second year that we were virtual, they actually flew me out to Vancouver. And that process was really interesting for us, being in the studio, getting COVID tested before production, all of that stuff. And so when you're connecting with people, when you're just behind a camera, when it's just you, it takes a whole different level of energy versus when you've got a live audience and you've got that energy and that live feedback and faces to look at. It just becomes something so different.
Yeah.
And so I've had to kind of train myself to keep up and sustain energy, especially because webinars too, it's the same thing. Like you've got a chat, but it's not the same as connecting with people in person and being able to converse, see your like hands raised, like, you know, the interaction is different. And so for me, webinars are awesome because I don't have to travel to be able to do that and to connect with a bigger group of people. I really love like that one-to-many connection.
Yeah.
But there is something so different and so energizing from being in person with people that are so like-minded. And that's the magic, I think, of not only Clio and the community that we create virtually with our virtual programs. But the kind of community and energy that you've gotten to experience this week here in Nashville at Clio Con, there's nothing like it in the legal industry right now.
Clio prides itself on innovation, transforming legal experience for all, which is just such an audacious, bold, outlandish mission, which I absolutely love. And I think we've talked about this offline as well. But I actually think Clio's strength is community.
Yes.
I actually really believe that as a legal community builder myself, with my mission to kind of build a kind of more collaborative legal community, I think Clio, of course, it's almost like a given that the tech and innovation, but what makes it stand out to me is it's not lost its identity and culture as it's gone through such success of, unicorns aren't that exciting these days. There's a lot of them out there, but are there many centaurs that can hold their own, get to where they've gone, hire incredible people like yourself who are then coming in and creating impact? I think that's the greatest part of Clio and the wider community. And I think that's what excites me about this particular organization is it's so true to its culture and values and where it's going as a journey that there's only one place it's going to go. And that's what I want to talk about you and a bit more about your role, because you kind of brushed over. There's a lot there, right?
Yeah.
So just give us a typical day in your life when it's not at Clio Con.
Oh, okay. Typical day. So I've got quite the team of people to support all of these programs. So I'm in a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
And because of the diverse experience that I have in legal, the connections that I have across the industry, I'm often someone that's tapped to connect the dots on things. And it's actually one of the things that I really enjoy at this point in my career, because I have some people under me who are a bit more junior, who are looking to develop different things, but also we're responsible for these really important programs at Clio. So my role then becomes, how do I coach them to show up as their best selves? How do I get them to tap into their own creativity and their own genius? But then how do I connect them with the right people and get them to start thinking the right way and having the right conversations? And also being challenged myself with new ways of thinking to really innovate and level these programs up, because they are something that's really high impact. Every single program in my portfolio is a way for us to connect to a large group of people and build trust and build community. And it is something that I love to be able to connect back to my team. The fact that we are driving our mission forward. We are transforming the legal experience for all. And you want to talk about why a centaur is successful and why the only way is up. It's because we are mission centered in everything that we do. And the talk that I gave earlier today was the anti-fragile law firm. Was that today? Was that yesterday? The days are blurring. But it's all about that community piece, right? Yeah. Community connection. Connection is so important. And every time that we connect with someone, it's an exchange of energy.
Correct.
And so you really have to watch the energy that you're bringing. And if that energy isn't centered, whether you think it or not, that other person's going to feel it. And every single person on my team has to be really good at relationships. And one thing that Clio does really well, like you said, is community, but it's because of the quality of relationships and trust that we built in the industry. And that's what really takes you far. And I think that translates to law firms too. When they build really great relationships with their clients and with their community, only growth from there, right?
We're going through what I describe in the world of work, a human connection revolution. So, I talk about this repeatedly on the show. It's not B2B, it's not B2C, it's H to H, it's human to human connection, right?
Yeah.
And I think Clio gets that, but also you get that and passing that on and through the technology innovations, like in Jack's keynote, he talked about technology as the levers to increase output efficiency. But what does that all lead to? Giving lawyers a better chance to be more human and connect and build relationships with their clients, which is only a good thing. So absolutely aligned. We share a lot of similar values. And I know another value that you and I both share is about overall well-being and mental health, right?
Yes.
In the workplace. And a lot of this technology can really reduce, a lot of the menial tasks, overburn, stress. Just talk a little bit about sort of what that means to you in terms of the introduction of technology and innovation from a mental health and well-being perspective.
Yeah. So a lot of the overwhelm that we see people running into is when they are just over capacity, right? Or are disorganized. I've struggled with my own mental health issues. I've been diagnosed with depression, with anxiety, and one of the things that I noticed with that period in my life was that there was a lot of chaos. And sometimes it manifested itself physically in physical chaos, but it was often like a bunch of other things in my life that just weren't taken care of. And it just compounds the issue. And one of the ways that you can increase your well-being is by getting things in order, getting them tidied up, getting a bit of clarity and a path forward. And when you've got really solid tech behind you, it can really be a game changer. Tech to reach for that can assist you and that can help you. And one of the things I see with law firm leaders that start to implement things like automation, it's like these tasks that were just draining their soul and just weren't really a part of what they really wanted to do.
Yeah.
Getting those things lifted from their plate was just all of a sudden re-energizing and could get them back to what they really wanted to do, could reduce the overwhelm, could reduce the anxiety of the way that they practiced. And yeah, there's the legal tech aspect, but there's also all of this really cool wellness tech out now.
Yeah.
I'm a Headspace subscriber and I have been for years. And this week with everything that's been going on, logistics swimming in my brain, the quality of my sleep was kind of garbage. It was garbage. I'm not going to lie. And it was just, have you ever been in a spot where you try to go to sleep and it's just a continuation of your day?
Yes,
So that was what was happening to me for a couple of nights. And when I paused and thought about it, it's because it's been a few days since I meditated because I've just been go, 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 and I didn't make the time for it. So 2 nights ago, not last night, the night before, said, I'm going to do a meditation before I go to bed. And I got 4 hours of sleep, which was the most I had gotten all week, but it was the most quality sleep.
Yeah.
My brain was clear. So like there are all these different things that you can start to reach for that can create a whole different level of well-being, right? Like when you think about how you show up for work, how you interact with other people, if you've ever snapped at someone, it's usually because you might need to take a step back and take a look at yourself. Are your basic needs met? Basic needs.
Yeah.
Have you slept enough? Have you eaten today? Have you gotten enough water? Have you paid yourself at all? When I say pay yourself, I mean like, have you worked out? Have you done something that you know will energize you? And if you haven't, then it typically isn't the other person. It's typically the energy that you brought to that conversation, right?
It's oxygen mask on first. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
It's, putting yourself first is not selfish. It's the thing you need to do to be productive, to do whatever you want to do to try and help others. And it's what I try and encourage people to get into the mindset of. It's so important to put yourself first. And when certain people hear that, it's like, isn't that really selfish? It's like, It's selfish to not put yourself first because you're not giving the best version of you, right?
It's public service.
Yeah, exactly. And so I love that whole mentality that you talk about. I want to switch back to Clio Con as the experience because I was speaking earlier on another episode. I tuned into Clio Con last year virtually, and it was okay. It's just a different level of experience, energy, connection, being in person. And I have to attribute you and all of the team at Clio because it's very clear you don't just sort of cut corners with this. Like the 1% things that make a conference more than a conference and an experience is like the corners that you don't cut. So talk me through sort of your highlights of Clio Con 2023. And as an extension of that, why should people get excited and start thinking about making sure they're going to get themselves to Texas next year for Clio Con 2024?
Yeah, I mean, as a planning team, we have a set of core principles that are rooted in our mission. And if you walk around this space, you will notice that every single stakeholder in our ecosystem is considered, whether it's a member of the media like yourself, our exhibiting partners, our bar association partners, our speakers. They are the core of what brings people here. They want to hear all of this amazing content. And when we attract speakers here, we're thinking about what kind of diversity and diverse voices do we want to highlight? And what kind of topics do we need to be covering? How can we move the bar? How can we challenge the way that people are thinking in legal? So we're helping to move the industry forward. And, it just seeing all of this come together every single year is such a huge highlight for me. And we're one of the only conferences that brings these world-class keynotes to the stage. And it's been so cool to see the caliber of just talent and ideas that we were able to bring. Like just learning from an FBI negotiator. Are you kidding me? Like what other legal conference is bringing that to you? And having Brian Banks and Shaka Senghor share their stories. These are the things that we want to be highlighting. And I think for me personally, I'm getting chills thinking about it. Just getting the chance to do Q&A with Mel Robbins on stage later today is going to be one of the career highlights I'll hold on to for a lifetime. So it's such a cool experience. And just to see all of these connections that I've made in the legal industry gather over the couple of days, it's one of those things that really warms your heart, and being able to connect and introduce new people. Like I love seeing the connections, and I love seeing people that I met at Clio Con many years ago come back, or people that have actually, I had a story yesterday where folks met virtually at Clio Con and started a company. So Fidoo, one of our App Integration Award winners, those two co-founders met virtually at Clio Con and came up with this, like, this place is amazing. It's so cool. It's so cool, the things that happen here, just because everyone is in this space of innovation, challenging each other, sharing, thinking differently. And all of a sudden, all of this opportunity comes out of it. There's nothing like it.
I think you've just summed it up so well. And, that's a great story there from a sort of entrepreneurship, being curious enough, coming, networking, leading to a great success story. I'm excited for Texas. I have to say 2024.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. This has been a blast. Like, Nefra, you're an absolute rock star. I think everything that you do and a whole of Team Clio is just of a standard that is just impressive, but it's also inclusive. And I just want to say thank you to you and all the team. And if people want to find out more about you or Clio, where can they go to find out more?
Well, if you want to find out more about Clio, there is a fantastic website called Clio.com. It's got a ton of resources, not only if you're looking into legal software, but as a lawyer, we've got so many resources out there for you, webinars, white papers, all of that good stuff. But if you want to learn more about me, you can head over to Twitter, or X, I guess. I'm Nefra_Ann. Not engaging there as much these days, but I'm also on the Instagram, same handle, all that good stuff. And you can always shoot me an email. It's my first name, nefra.mcdonald@clio.com. And I'm always happy to connect with new legal folks out there.
And you definitely should, because Nefra is just not only a rock star at Clio, but just an all-round amazing human. And it's been a pleasure to meet you in real life in Clio Con, and I just can't speak highly enough of it. So thank you so much for joining me today. But for now, over and out.